The explosion caused a momentary breakdown in transmission across America. Pete Townsend claimed he was left permanently deaf in one ear, and a flying cymbal sliced into Moon's arm.
All right, welcome to another Rough City, and this is fucking awesome. This is a big time reunion. I have joining with me an old dear friend, old music colleague, Mauricio Ruiz. What is up, bro?
What's up, man? How are you? Thanks for having me on the show. Big fan.
Yes, man. Thank you so much for your support. By the way, you've been there fucking from the beginning, and it means a lot, dude. And it's just cool to finally hang out. So let's just get into it. We got a lot to talk about, but first I wanted to ask, as much as you're comfortable with talking about, how are you doing there? Why don't you just let us know where you are and how are you doing there?
Sure. Well, I'm in Bolivia at the moment. I've been here for about 11 years down in South America. Been doing a lot of exploring and whatnot. Came here to study and get involved in different aspects of the travel life and seeing what else is out there. I don't know. I was born in Bolivia, but my parents took me to the U.S. when I was 1, so I'm pretty much Americanized based on my accent. But yeah, I just had a need to start a new chapter in my life. I had my hair, up to my ass. It was really long. I had to cut it, start a new chapter in my life. I'm here now.
You were metal before I was, long before me.
Well, yeah, I actually started off with rap and hip hop and I don't know, listening to stuff like DJ Quick, Eazy-E, Too Short, a lot of E40, like a lot of local stuff from SF, the Bay Area. But I kind of got into rock and metal. It's funny. I was at the age of 15. And at the time, my mom was going out with this guy, musician, who brought over some CDs. He brought over Deicide and Cannibal Corpse, Pantera, Metallica, whatnot. And he's like, check this out. I know you like music, but, how about this? And it blew me away immediately. My world completely went upside down and I couldn't believe it. I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm missing out on a lot. And ever since then, I was hooked, to be quite honest. So it was kind of weird. I went through a backwards kind of picking up the pieces approach to getting into metal. While all of my other friends were deeply into Metallica and stuff like that, I was kind of going a little bit backwards. I guess I started with those heavy groups and eventually I started discovering other groups like Metallica and stuff like that, appreciating guitar and whatnot. But it was cool, man. That's pretty much how I got into it. And the rest is history, I guess. I just really tapped into that world.
Right. Which you helped introduce me to. But so at Bolivia,
I was just seeing what else is out there. I just kind of needed a new change in my life. And so musically, I took advantage of it as well. I explored a lot of different rhythms and from different cultures, different places, Brazil, Peru, Argentina, Bolivia, Ecuador, to try to, I don't know, broaden my vocabulary of rhythms, I guess, and just try to understand all forms of rhythms. I've always been into that. So for me, it's very much strongly, not only just the drumming approach, but the percussion area as well is very heavy for me as well. But I don't know, just really trying to get out there as much as possible, see what else is out there, whatever.
Absolutely. And we are going to get into your band's new album, definitely later in the episode, but and we're going to talk a lot about that. We're going to play some of it too. But what also it's called D-Roll, by the way, and we're gonna give a link for everybody where to hear your band. And I know it's still a work in progress, the album, but what's it been like for you guys recording an album in Bolivia right now?
Well, not that difficult. Luckily, the guitarist has really good connections, so we were able to hook up with this sound guy, work in his house. He has his home studio, and it's actually quite professional. I was quite impressed. I didn't really know what to expect going into the studio, being the first time I'm actually recording, because I've been in other projects, but this is the first time we're actually laying things down.
Oh, this is your first time in the studio.
Yeah, I've been collaborating on other stuff just for fun, to be quite honest, and just for the experience. But I actually put music aside for a good chunk of my life. I got really distracted being here, to be quite honest. I mean, life took over. I was into girls and travel and party scene and this and that. And I just kind of forgot, unfortunately,
hey, man,
that side.
I got you. I went there. Well, not Bolivia there, but that part of, I went through a stage where I just sort of wanted to forget I was ever a musician for one reason or another, because I don't know, it's too big of a thing to get into. But in lieu of what's going on in Bolivia, that made it a challenge for you guys to record.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately here where I'm living in La Paz, there aren't, it's not really frequent that a lot of artists come here like they do in SF, for example, San Francisco, where you get all kinds of groups and bands coming in and out, in and out, in and out. Here, it's not that way at all. It's actually quite torturous being a musician, quite frustrating as well.
I was referring to like this, the conflict that was going on over there.
Oh, right. Yeah. Politically speaking, that was crazy, man. Yeah, there was this thing that happened not too long ago, a few weeks ago. The president, they 86'd him because the guy just ended up being a dictator. He just didn't want to give up his power. So there was a huge uprising.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
Sorry. But yeah, it was crazy, man. I never experienced, in the time being here, I pretty much thought, okay, this place isn't that bad. But that was the only time that it actually felt like a third world Bolivia. There was like blockade everywhere.
No, I was reading about it when it was going on. When I talked to you, when we got in touch, the last time I spoke to you, you said that you were about to have to walk 3 miles to go get stuff for the house and shit. It was insane. Just checking on you, like, damn.
I know.
Dude,
yeah, it was crazy.
I went through fucking. Did you hear about Hurricane Michael that hit Florida a couple years ago?
Yeah.
That wiped my town off of the face of the earth.
Really? Jesus.
Can you imagine that? Imagine this. Our whole county, no trees. No trees.
Oh my God.
It literally was like, I think the trees saved some of our lives, like as like sort of wind resistance, like
created obstacles.
It really, dude, we were in the middle of what felt like an Armageddon town. It was something that is indescribable. I could never describe to you what it looked like walking through the town in the aftermath. Absolutely. Wow. It was like an atomic bomb hit our town completely. And the survival, it was like Mad Max shit. I could go through stories of like ready to kill a human life just to protect my family and our rations.
So apocalyptic.
Dude, it was insane. Wow. So I can, when you were telling me that shit, I was like, okay.
You can relate.
Yeah, a little in one way at least. All right, well, we're going to get back into your album because we want to hear a lot about it. We're going to listen to some of it. But let's just jump into a couple things I wanted to address. Firstly, something that was brought to my attention by the lovely Harleka Rose, who messaged me on the Rough City page about talking about the new Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees. And I can't even escape this subject. It was on the radio on my drive home from work too. I mean, have you kept up with that? No,
not really.
Okay, well, I'm only really fucking talking about it because I can't get away from it. On Facebook too, some people are sort of speaking out about some of these and their butthurt, but I'm like, well, hold on. People just love to complain, including me right now. So I get it. But so all right, I'll just list off the inductees of 2020, which were just announced.
Okay.
Depeche Mode.
Wow.
Yeah.
Rock and roll.
The Doobie Brothers. Okay, absolutely. They should have been there long ago. Nine Inch Nails. Now that's one I've heard complaints about. Well, no, I have no complaints about that. What the fuck are they? What are they talking about? He's got rock and guitar. He was part of the '90s rock revolution, right?
Real thrash, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's certainly that. He created a new genre, but he was way more in there in the rock and roll radio station with Nirvana than he would be anywhere else.
Of course.
Yeah. So that's absolutely worth it.
Well, yeah. I mean, Nine Inch Nails is a given.
I think
He's always.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, Trent Reznor's always been into the electronica scene, but always keeping it organic as a band, always with guitar, bass, very rock.
Very, and I think he's done enough for the electric guitar with bringing new tones and sounds and ways we haven't heard it. Even with, you know what I mean, he's done enough with the electric guitar to definitely earn his name on. All right, another band, T-Rex. Never heard of it.
Yeah, they're like a glam rock band, psychedelic folk, I think, from the 60s. Don't really know too much about their music, but I've heard of. Yeah, interesting.
The 60s? Wow.
Yeah, 67.
Wow. All right. Well, the most talked about one on this new list is Whitney Houston. But, you know, hey, to be honest, I don't see what all this new uproar is. I think all the outrage is part of this new fake outrage that's popular with people today. And don't even get me started because I'll just turn into this troll about it. But it's bullshit because if no one really cares, it's just because it got posted. It's something new to complain about. If anyone really wanted to spend the time and you can go to rockhall.com, look at the inductees from 1986 to 2019 and 2020. James Brown is in there. If fucking James Brown is in there, you know, the Jacksons, of course, Michael Jackson definitely had some rock and shit, Beat It had Van Halen, but James Brown is definitely not rock and roll. It's just not. So
no, it's soul.
No, exactly. So to be picky about Whitney Houston now, you're just trying to complain. And I understand because I like doing it too. But you know, it'll be fun to actually, for a future episode, we should go back more and deeper into this and pick out the strangest picks, the strangest inductee picks for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That'll be something to look more into. So.
Yeah, eventually they're going to have to consider maybe even changing the museum's name just to the Musical Hall of Fame or something like that. Because I don't know.
Yeah, it's just what's up with that? I don't want to talk. I don't want to sit here and talk cultural appropriation. It's not about that. It's about what style of music is it. But I will say, and you ain't gonna find, you know, Rush in the R&B Hall of R&B Awards. Are you? I'm not going to get started. I'm not allowed to talk about this kind of stuff. Fair enough. I said, look, I love Whitney Houston. I can tell you my favorite Whitney Houston song right now. It's that one.
Which one?
What is it? Down, down, and down if you dare. I don't want to hurt anymore.
Right.
My arms if you dare. Must I imagine you there? Don't walk away from me. Mauricio, I love singing to you.
Nice. That is a classic.
I love that song.
I'm just glad you didn't.
What?
It is a classic. I'm glad you didn't say the one about the bodyguard. I was kind of worried about that, but that's actually not a bad one.
Yeah, you know, honestly, even Dolly Parton's version of "I'll Always Love You" is more rock and roll than hers. So. But you know what? I like Whitney Houston, and I promise I'll not sing anymore. All right, let's fuck this Rock and Roll Hall of Fame bullshit. Let's just get down to brass tacks, shall we? How about Neil Peart? If you could give us just what are your thoughts?
Wow. Well, Jesus, what a tragedy, right? I mean, fuck. Neil Peart, I didn't even know he had cancer of the brain. That's just so tragic. The guy was so smart. Yeah. 67 from Canada, of course. Wrote all the lyrics to Rush. The guy, from all the interviews I saw, he's incredibly articulate. He truly like has a strong grasp of communication eloquently. And it's no wonder the guy wrote the lyrics. It's really quite sad. The guy was a huge influence on me and many other drummers, of course, in his approach technically and musically. But it's sad, man. 67, it's not too old.
Right. And the lyrics point, I definitely wanted to bring that up. This is the whole focus of the episode, by the way, is we're going to go down to the list of mine and Mauricio's picks of greatest, most influential drummers in the world who ever lived and most mediocre. There's going to be cool points that you can add at your discretion. I will be adding cool points and, of course, some honorable mentions. And I'm talking like I'm a fucking radio guy and I always want to just punch myself. So let's just keep it going.
Go with it.
It's the only way I can keep organized. I really don't ever talk like this, people. But it's nice to talk to my friends.
It's a good medium.
Right on. All right. So, okay, yeah, I just wanted to talk to you about that because I remember borrowing the instructional video from you. You own one from Neil Peart.
All right.
And I
DCI videos.
Yes, dude, I mentioned that just on the last podcast with Nate. Like, didn't seem like one company made all of those videos with these greats?
They took care of a lot. Yes, they did. Bass, guitar, drums.
They had the same cover box with the same coloring, like 90s shit, and it was all that canvas box in black. And we would trade with each other. That's
right.
And we got endless amounts of chops to steal from it. So
for sure.
And I remember I had a Peter Erskine one, which he's on my top picks, by the way. So, all right. How about this? We'll just trade off back and forth and we'll go down. Of course, I said best 5, but that might mean, a couple honorable mentions. And I know order is not really important. It's just to help us keep things organized. But let's go ahead and start counting from 5 down to 1, and we'll trade off. I'll give my 5, you give your 5, and we'll go from there. Sound good?
Sounds good.
All righty. So I'm going to have to say John Bonham.
5, Bonham.
Bonham is my number 5, first pick. And what can you say about Bonham, dude? He was the wild card, I would call it, in the classic rock genre.
Yes.
There are many pounders. Obviously, let's go ahead and mention The Who. Gotta love Keith Moon. Actually, Keith Moon was going to end up on my most overrated list, except for that one clip that at the beginning of the episode.
Right.
I think he earned his fucking stripes.
In all fairness to Keith Moon, I'm pretty sure that Jim Henson was influenced by him to create Animal from the Muppets, I think.
Oh my God, bro. And you just nailed it. He's on my list. Animal.
It's wild.
Get into that, brother. So you're probably right. Anyway, Bonham. Personally speaking, when I had my first drum set, because drums is my first instrument, I would study Led Zeppelin. I learned Moby Dick with my half-assed chops, that solo the best I could anyway. I faked it pretty good, I thought. I learned Zeppelin while I was learning funk. Like I could play some funk, like some Average White Band and Rage Against the Machine, and I could play Led Zeppelin. And that was the only one of the picks of 70s bands I could say that about because of Bonham. It was funky. It was fucking funky and heavy. And
extremely
melodic. He really wrote drum riffs along with Page.
Yes. The guy was a huge counterbalance for the band. I mean, his bass drum alone was a signature sound, very, very powerful, very warm, thick tone. I remember there's this one quote by Jimi Hendrix when he saw Led Zeppelin play live that he said, wow, that guy Bonham, he can play on one foot the pedal just amazingly, like it's a double pedal, amazingly enough. And I was always impressed by that. The guy's always been a huge influence. Very funky, very, very funky.
Yeah. So that's hell yeah, bro. All right, so that's my 5. What's your 5?
My 5 is Tim Alexander from, well, he was with Primus. Left the band in 96. I guess he came back in 03. He played other side projects like this one called Attention Deficit, A Perfect Circle. He played this one track with Maynard James Keenan called Choked. I believe it was the one. I think that was what influenced them to work together for A Perfect Circle. But the guy has these approach on his fills, very much like the drummer Dennis Chambers, where you can literally hear every beat meticulously with precision. But the guy's also got a loosey-goosey kind of vibe with power. I don't know, and he's very creative part-wise. He's not your typical run-of-the-mill 1, 2, 3, 4 drummer, and that's kind of what inspired me. Primus being alone, a very wacky band, so very unorthodox. I kind of like that approach. I don't know, something like that.
Good answer, Tim Erb. Tim Erb, baby. Me and you went to see him. Me and you have been to a lot of concerts, by the way. Do you remember when we went to the Tonka drum concert?
That was, who was that with?
Me and you. It was just Tonka. It was just a Tonka, dude, just a Tonka drum show. And
Yeah.
they brought out the world's largest drum. Like,
Yes.
and we got, it's just me and you too. We just went and got fucking roasted out in the park and went up and watched the entire Tonka. It was a huge, like, circus. No, it wasn't like Circus Soleil. That's cheesy. It was all just serious and drum and percussion oriented. And it really just gave you that feeling, like it reminded you, everyone there was like, dude, drums are older than medicine. This is,
yes.
And we are seeing the world's largest drum in history designed that it took on a plane. And it was amazing. It was an amazing fucking, Tonka drums. And we saw Tim Erb Alexander's side project. What the fuck were they called? Do you remember? I do remember they played Welcome to the Machine cover, and Tim Erb was the singer.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I remember. Yeah, Laundry.
That's right.
That's right.
Oh, yeah. Everybody trashing us. Hey, who are you guys going to see? Laundry. Well, hey, man, I'm going to just fucking throw my whites in the car.
Don't forget the bleach.
And fucking half a bag. Yeah.
That's right. Oh, that was great. I remember that.
Rock, dude. And I remember we saw me and you followed them for 2 shows, 2 different areas. I think one was East Bay. So we drove a little bit.
That's right.
And then caught him in the city. Because I remember when he was like, we were stoked on that Pink Floyd cover the first time. We were surprised. We're like, oh, fuck. Because Pink Floyd was like our world. And then on the San Francisco gig the next day, he's like, all right, we're about to do a cover. And either me or you went, Floyd. And he like kind of had half a crack a smile, like, oh, shit, we got fans. We got, dude, people like Laundry. All right. So, okay, good. That's
religiously followed.
Say what?
No, we would just religiously follow them at the moment. But yeah, that was a great show. Welcome to the Machine. And that approach, heavy.
And he rocked the vocals while drumming. I always admire that, dude. What a weird ambidextrous type thing to be able to do vocals while drumming. Good pick for your number 5. Let's move on to number 4. And that'll be my number 4 for greatest drummers in history, in my opinion. Everyone, please feel free to yell at us in the comments. We will read it. Thomas Hake from Meshuggah.
Nice.
This guy is obviously a revolutionary drummer. Another one who writes lyrics for the band, if you didn't know. And their lyrics are fan-fucking-tastic.
He does the artwork too, I think.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
That
digital crazy stuff.
That's sick as fuck. Right on. Well, yeah, okay. Well, he is, the whole concept of gent is really almost a whole episode worthy. The controversy over it in the scene, but the thing to just remember is this was new ground. This guy invented a new style of metal drumming.
Yes, extremely. I mean, the guy is a machine, mathematically speaking, and very creative. The guy studied in Berkeley College of Music, believe it or not. No, I'm sorry. That's I'm getting my people crossed over. But he's 48, and interestingly enough, they started off very thriving, but technical in time. And I mean, the way I see a lot of clips on YouTube, and the guy is just amazing. He literally divides his brain in four, and it's just, he's a machine. He's superhuman. He's up there. He's definitely up there.
Yeah, he is cyborg. So yeah, that's me. That's for me. Thomas Hake for 4. How about you? 4.
My fourth would be Matt Garska, from drummer from Animals as Leaders. He's 30 years old. He's best known for like instrumental progressive work. And it's interesting enough, the guy is like jazzy, fusiony, but metal at the same time, because he really emphasizes a lot on the double bass. And it's a new approach that, not quite new, but he has a stank to him that I really admire. And the fact that his left hand is just bouncing all over the place with his ghost notes, kind of like a Buddy Rich kind of feel, or Chris Coleman. We'll get into that later, but very, very active, unbelievable. Always a treat to watch this guy play. But I guess not exactly one of the greatest in the world. He's definitely a strong influence at this point in my life right now. So I guess he would be number 4.
Dude, I'm so glad somebody brought him up, because he's not on my list, but I knew he had to be mentioned as at least honorable. So fuck yeah, because he is what I call him the newest, the greatest drummer in metal today. He is the new greatest metal drummer.
Definitely. I mean, it's all up to the eye of the listener, but for me at this point right now, he's just really doing some creative stuff, and it's really pushing my limits. And I like that when I get influenced and inspired like that. It doesn't really happen every day, but yeah, with this guy, he's very, very musical, very, very creative.
He's the game changer of metal, just like Tosin was. It's perfect. And there's not even much you can just say. That's why I'm stuttering. Thinking about Matt and Tosin is just like, just play it.
Yeah, I know.
Just play
Reinventing genres.
Absolutely, man. They really did. Animals as Leaders brought me back to metal when I went away from it. Great answer. All right, so I'll move on to my number 3 is going to be Peter Erskine,
Nice.
Weather Report's drummer. As far as jazz drumming goes, while I was a jazz drummer, I had an instructional video from him by the same company, and he had the chops that I was interested in. Very surgical, very articulate, very fast, very fucking fast, but light on his feet. All those chops that it just, I don't know, man. It's just, it's hard to explain. He's a machine gun with his bebop fast jazz style.
Yeah, he is.
But he'll drop these fucking cannons with his punches
Birdland.
and accents. Yeah, Birdland, baby. I mean, everything. Fast City is one of my favorite ones on Night Passage, Weather Report.
Nice. He's very meticulous in his playing. I would never have known that a guy like has that kind of ferocity when he plays, and because the guy kind of looks like I don't know, like a substitute teacher at your school, but the guy is amazing fucking drummer. And I remember that video. I religiously studied that, and he's very loose, very, very comfortable on the traps.
Right.
I mean, the guy was phenomenal in Weather Report, collaborating with Jaco Pastorius. And yeah, he's right there next to like cats like Dave Weckl and whatnot.
Right. Tight like a Dolphins. You fill in the blank. All right. Well, what's your number? What's your number 3?
Number 3 would be the drummer from Meshuggah, Thomas Hake. Which was yours.
We just went through.
Yes. The guy's amazing. What can I say about him? He is, he's badass. He just keeps on improving. His age doesn't get in the way. And it's really inspirational to see, that power is still being driven throughout these years, and he's getting more creative.
All right, good pick. Well, he certainly covered him. So let's throw in some honorable mentions before we get to our number. Wait, are we on number 2? Oh, we're number 2. First, number 2. So my number 2 is going to be Richard Christie, which is the final drummer for Death.
From Death.
Yeah.
Yes.
And interestingly enough, I think he was with Death, and then who else was it? Strapping Young Lad, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe someone else. I think I got it wrong. I have to look at it again, but even though I have Google right in front of me, I'm too lazy. He ended up becoming the producer for Howard Stern
No kidding.
of all things. Which hell,
Whoa.
I would too. He was a funny ass dude. He
Wow.
in the show, so he quit music for that, and I don't know if he's still doing it now. I don't know what the fuck, but when I learned that, I was like, wow, and I would too. But anyway, let's just talk about his drumming for a minute. You've never heard it before, and you won't hear it again. It sounds like somebody overdubbed another drummer's two hands.
Right.
It really does. It's like this sounds like a third arm. I heard another drummer sound like they've got an extra limb, like Christie. I really have it. I can hear almost the sheet music. I can't read music, but I can, you know what I mean? I can hear the rudiments. And almost any drummer in any song or any solo, even all the ghost notes, I can get them too. For the most part, I'm not saying I'm fucking, you know, a goddamn Rain Man over here, but when you play Richard Christie or when you play Sounds of Perseverance, that Death album, you tell me what other drummer sounds like that. It's just
He's very busy.
It's just rapid fire of unbelievable, relenting, fucking unrelenting. I can't talk. He's taken all my relenting. So Richard Christie, man, he's a big one for me.
Definitely incredibly creative. The guy does weird on the splash that I would never have approached in that way, but the guy is amazing. He's very, very big. He actually worked with Chuck Schuldiner, I think, before passed away on Fragile Art of Existence, where Chuck was just strictly on the guitar, Christie on the drums, and they had this other vocalist, but he was also very, very busy, just doing all, I mean, the guy is a madman.
Absolutely. And it's almost, you could say, it sounds like it's on borderline sloppy, but it isn't. It's absolutely accurate. He finds extra ghost notes. They're the fucking ghost of ghosts. It's, you know, it's the motherfucker that comes to get the Grim Reaper. All right, my vodka's kicking in.
It is. I mean, the guy probably, like you said, he developed a third arm. Maybe he stationed himself under a nuclear power plant for a while just to get that extra privilege. But he is extremely busy. Like you say, it sounds like there's more than one drummer.
It's like you created a new role. There was the single stroke role. What is that? I'd like you to name that.
Paradiddle.
It's the crispy. That's very, very crispy. All right. So that's my number two. Who's your number two?
My number two, I actually contemplated this between Buddy Rich, a friend of mine. His name is Juan Zegada. They call him Zegadex. He actually lives here in Bolivia. So Juan Zegada, the guy is amazing. When I first came here in 2008, I was with Nick, actually. We just came here, I think it was 2007, but we were just like visiting. But we ended up going to this one club where the downstairs was like a techno area. Upstairs was like another genre. And then at the top floor, they had live music. And it was just bass and drums, a duet. And it was amazing. Me and Nick had no idea that there was that caliber of music here in Bolivia, but our jaws dropped to the floor. We were just perplexed. And oddly enough, after the show, the guy ended up going to an after party of our families. My uncle has a lot of connections here with musicians, and he ended up showing up. So we're just chopping it up with the guy. And the guy's amazing. I mean, he's played in countless bands here in Bolivia, hundreds of stuff. He's really popular. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the means to really get exposed and get out there in the world for everybody else to know who is this guy. So there's unfortunately that kind of sadness to it, that there's a lot of really talented musicians and artists out there that are just not getting heard. And for the longest time, I tried to promise the guy, hey, man, when I go back to the States, I'll try to bring back some of your discs. Oh, please, that'd be great, you know. But the guy's amazing. And it's my pleasure to know, you know, to be in front of this guy and witness his playing, and very inspirational. But I think that would be my number two. The guy studied in Berkeley. He's amazing. He's amazing. But now he's here in Bolivia, speaks English, but he's just keeping in his own circle of friends playing music, but very humble, but an amazing player.
Fantastic.
Nobody knows.
What's his name again?
Juan Zegada, or they call him Zegadex.
Zegadex. Juan Zegada. Wow. And you were making him a contender for Buddy Rich. That says volumes. Excellent.
It does.
All
It
right.
does.
I'm going to go through some of my honorable mentions. First of all, I got to say Elvin Jones. Elvin Jones of the jazz world, he is one of the legends. I won't say much about him because these are honorable mentions and I want to move it along. Elvin Jones, check him out if you haven't already. He's a fucking giant.
Yes, he is. Extremely powerful.
And Buddy Rich was my next honorable mention. I would call him before my number one pick of our top five, which we're waiting on. Honorable mentions we're getting out of the way. Buddy Rich, I will say, was the greatest living drummer at one time in the world.
Yeah. Amazing drummer. I mean, the guy was a drum. It's like, I don't know, the way he played, his speed, his precision, his looseness on the drums, the fact that he was having fun with it, smiling all the time.
On the surface. You know about that guy though, right?
Oh yeah, the guy was
the
pretty
tape,
much like, what's that?
the tapes. You know about the Buddy Rich tapes.
Yes.
Yeah. And if anyone doesn't know about it, they're old. It's old school knowledge. He would eviscerate his band. He was the biggest asshole in fucking drum history.
Egomaniac.
Next to Ginger Baker. Them in a celebrity death match would be a sight to behold. Boy, would it be like, it should be like Kickboxer when you dip your bandages into glue and then broken glass. Give me Tom Paul. But dude, Buddy Rich was a dick. There are tapes you can find on YouTube. Just search Buddy Rich tapes. And after a gig during the tour, he would be on the bus cussing out his band like venom you've never heard before, saying shit like, "You guys motherfuckers, I'm paying your goddamn rent. You guys sound like a high school band and you suck."
Yeah, I mean,
and even Seinfeld has taken quotes from this and used it in the show. George Costanza used one of the quotes from the Buddy Rich tapes. This fucking drummer, this crazed drummer, who's cussing at his band. That famous George Costanza quote in the movie theater where Buddy Rich is telling somebody, he's like, "You want to fuck with me? I'll take you outside this bus and show you what it's like." So what? Show you what what's like. What does it even mean?
Uncontrollable. I mean, with that, the fact that he's such a great player creates probably that ego, and knowing the fact that he's untouchable at his moment.
He wrote the tunes.
Yeah, the guy was unfortunately not the best to work with, but on stage, amazingly enough. But I hate to say it, there's a lot of those kind of artists that are just kind of dicks. Amazing, talented, but you know. Yeah,
absolute fucking. He gets a trophy for that. But he wrote the songs. He was a composer. He could notate it. He had a fucking full piece big band, and he beat their ass. I think literally, maybe even assaulted some of them probably. But you're right. There's legends like that. Fucking James Brown was one of them. His band was terrified of him.
Sure.
Fucking Charles Mingus, we were just talking about that, man. He's known for whatever. It's all about arrogance. It's all about genius. But I gotta say, Buddy Rich also gets some extra badass points just because he looks like a fucking Batman villain. So for starters,
right next to the Penguin,
he freaks me out. So that he's going to be an honorable mention, and that's going to move on to Ronnie Verrell, who is the man behind the drum set playing for Animal from the Muppet Show, and which gets another honorable mention because Animal was, personally speaking, my favorite childhood Muppet.
Oh, of course.
And there was actually a famous episode where on the Muppet Show where Buddy Rich guest starred on the Muppet Show to do a drum duel-off with Animal, Ronnie Verrell.
That's right.
And
a duo drum.
That's right. And it ended, because Buddy Rich started winning, it ended with Animal being the victor by crushing a symbol over Buddy Rich's head. So fuck yeah, Animal, gotta love it.
Gotta love it.
Any more honorable mentions for you?
Quite a few, actually. I mean,
go ahead.
We went through Bond. Let's see here. I don't know, like Igor Cavalera from Sepultura, Dennis Chambers, Thomas Pridgen from Mars Volta, Vinny Caliuta, Terry Bozzio.
Oh, Terry was going to show up in my douche list, but he also is amazing. Continue.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. Along with Kurt, I mean, I can go on and on and on, but those are the ones that really stand out for me.
Fantastic. So let's go ahead and nail our number ones. I'm going to go ahead and go. You go ahead as our guest. What's your number one greatest, most influential of all time?
Okay. I'd have to say you influenced me, you inspired me, and I really got into it. And I'm convinced. Chris Coleman. Chris Coleman is amazing.
We finally have met level ground, folks. That is my number one too. Fuck yes. And you know what? It's really thanks to Keith. Keith turned me on to this guy. But you go ahead.
Yeah, the guy's been playing since he was 2 years old. He started like playing in gospel music. He was offered to play study at Berkeley, but he ended up going to the Manhattan School of Music. But the guy, the way he plays, like I'll have to name drop here, but he has that approach like Elvin Jones. He has extreme power, precise. He's very comfortable on the drums, very free. He's having fun with it. It almost looks like he's not even thinking. I don't know. He's probably making a shopping list at the same time while he's playing some incredibly difficult pattern. But he is amazing. The way his power is, he drives his drums. He's very, very articulate, very musical, and it's a treat to watch him play. It's very inspiring.
Fuck yes, dude. Absolutely. The finesse, like you're talking about, it's effortless. The dude is playing drums like he's breathing, and
Yeah,
he's having a blast while he's doing it. But he also has the confidence, not like, you know, it doesn't have to be a Buddy Rich. I'm going to show.
doesn't have to be cocky.
No, it doesn't. Exactly. I'm not going to show you what it's like. Instead, I'm just going to show you what it's like. This is not ego at all. But this motherfucker, this kid,
Quite humble.
Chris fucking Coleman is so good as a drummer.
Yeah, the guy's amazing.
He's so good. Like, when he asks you in a song, "Hey, what time signature is this in?" It's a rhetorical question.
Right.
He's going to really show you what time signatures can do. It's like you're really fucking witnessing something when you're watching this guy play. It's an anomaly. I kind of equate it to Michael Jordan. You don't even have to be a basketball fan. You don't have to be a fan of the sport to watch like any YouTube compilation that they've come up with of greatest Michael Jordan plays, or either Michael Jackson. You know what I mean? You watch Mike Tyson, any of the Michaels. Just pick a mic, pick a YouTube video, and you watch Mike Tyson in the ring. You don't have to be a fan of fighting or boxing or violence even. You're watching something, an anomaly, athleticism on another level. And you can see it on the court with Michael Jordan. You can just see something, this rule being broken, like fucking Neo. And that is exactly what you're seeing when you just watch some just instructional video at Guitar Center or something that he's doing, which we're going to play a little bit actually for you right now. We're going to do a little clip. So check him out. This is Chris Coleman. It's going to be both me and Mauricio's number one pick, most influential, greatest living drummer in the world, Chris Coleman. Go ahead and move into which I couldn't wait for this. I was actually more eager to do this. Most overrated drummers of all time. And we'll list our 5 with any honorable mentions we got. Let's go. Starting from 5, I'm going to start. And I know you're going to be like, what the fuck? But hear me out.
Okay.
Nick Mason of Pink Floyd. Now hear me out. Let me finish. I'm not attacking his playing. Not at all. And I love Pink Floyd. They are fuck, dude. I grew up with them. You know, they're like that fucking kid that Stand By Me best friend I never had from the movie Stand By Me. That's them for me. I get it. But for such a majorly iconic rock band, if you were to go down the list of iconic superstar rock bands in the world, any other drummer has made something more of a mark. That Nick Mason has never shown me anything that he can do other than keep time. Yes, I know time, no pun intended. That song, he uses the quads. That's cool with effects on him, but he's great. He's solid. He facilitates what he's supposed to. No complaints, but he never really showed me anything as a player.
Right.
That being said, he's playing the part. Maybe if there was something else added to it, it would have taken something away. So I'm not going to sit here and say he sucks, but he's one I'm throwing in. He's a weird one. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, Nick Mason. I agree. The guy, if he would have just gotten a little bit more creative, I love that part on Time in Dark Side of the Moon when he's on the rototoms, but he's strictly playing for the song. However, you can't help but feel.
Oh, I thought it was quads, rototoms. Yeah, you're right. That makes more sense. That's more drum set stuff, but it sounds like quad. It's pretty much the same design, I think. They just threw some quad. You know the quads I'm talking about from like marching bands.
Right.
It sounds
it's pretty much they're all connected. They're tonal. And,
right.
Not like rototoms. I mean octobons, but
right.
You got creative on some parts. He's playing for the song, and I respect that. Again, I can't help but feel that maybe if he would have just pushed himself a little bit more, that Pink Floyd probably would have had an extra edge to it. I mean, I do think that they are a guitar band, Gilmour leading the frontier. However, Pink Floyd probably would have been interesting if they had probably more of a progressive edge to them rather than just straightforward. But
maybe that's why they stood out. I'm not trying to diminish your review. You were, but I've been drinking.
No, I'm in a complete agreement with you. He does well because the magnitude and the size of the band, Pink Floyd. He's going to get a lot of hype, and people are going to kind of overlook and get into. Okay, well, let's look at the drummer right now. Well, he's not really all that, but
they gave him moments, though. Sorry again to cut you off, but they did give him moments. Like live in Pompeii, you got to see him flex a little.
Oh yeah.
And I've never seen him live. I haven't really invested much time on YouTube looking at live concerts. I'm sure if I did, my mind would be changed. But, that's something to look into. He's still going to have to be my number 1 or 5, rather.
Yeah. Live, believe it or not, they actually use a backup drummer. So there's 2 drummers. There's one other backing up Nick Mason. And so.
Okay. So already that takes some badass points away.
Yeah.
Who needs a backup? Who wait, who have you ever heard needing that? Okay. Anyway, I'm going on. All right. Who's your number 5?
My number 5 is Chad Smith from the Peppers, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, as my number 5.
Fair.
I guess overrated. Guy is great. In the studio, he's very funky, very solid. Live, it's another story. The Red Hot Chili Peppers aren't really that great live. I've seen them several times, and kind of a disappointment because I grew up with his videos as well, just keeping it in the pocket, and very, very solid drummer, unfortunately. But again, maybe perhaps because the band is so big that people will tend to just look at him with a microscope and I don't know, analyze other drummers. Hey, okay, he's not really that great. He's solid, plays for the song, but that's pretty much it.
All right, that's fair.
Opinion, depends on other people.
All right, fair enough. Okay, I'll move on to my number 4 most overrated drummers of all time. And again, hear me out.
Okay.
Rick Allen, Def Leppard's drummer. Now listen.
Being a little harsh on the one-armed man. There. Yeah.
Hear me out. I know, like, first of all, I'm mean. I know that. But
You're
look,
brutally honest.
let's get real. We're not talking about overcoming adversity. We're talking about drumming.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Are we supposed to really sit here and pretend a one-armed drummer sounds good? All right, we better move on before everyone unsubscribes. Forgive me, Def Leppard. Forgive me, the one-armed man from Fugitive. Why don't you? Let's quickly move on to your number 3. Is it 3?
All right.
Or 2?
It's 4 actually.
Oh shit, go for it.
Okay. I'd have to say Megan White from the White Stripes. As being kind of an overrated drummer, I guess. I don't want to be harsh here, but
hey, I'll be the one that's harsh. You're fine.
All right. You're good cop, bad cop. Sounds good. But yeah, she began with her brother Jack White back in '97. Unschooled kind of player, but not really impressive. I mean, again, maybe because of the popularity level. I don't know. Jack White is a great player. You know, really soulful guitarist, but I guess he just kind of, you know, hey, you're my sis, well, just come on with me on tour, let's see if this works out. But in all fairness, get off the stage.
Thank you. That's a great, you're more than welcome at Rough City. Just speak your mind, bro. It's all welcome here.
All right.
Good answer. All right, so I will move on to quickly honorable mention Terry Bozzio, just because of his face, but he's a great player.
Yeah.
So to eat all those drums, I'm sorry, you could donate all of those drums to Canada to fund the new classes they should be teaching on Neil Peart's music. And let's move on. You would think my number 1 would be this, but I'm saving my number 1. My number 2 is going to be Lars Ulrich.
Nice. That's actually my number 3.
So wait, so we're going backwards in order. I'm counting down. Are you going up?
From 4 to 3, I believe it goes.
Okay. So, all right. So look, Lars, not everyone knows what I'm going to say, or everyone has their own, you know, you in your own words, class. You know what I mean? Really, you know the drill. The guy is in the biggest, at one point was the biggest band in the world and earned it.
Yeah.
The guy earns it too, because let's be fair. He was one of the arrangers of the songs.
Yeah, co-wrote with James.
Yeah, and you know, that is their formula of songwriting, reinvented and recreated a whole new ball of wax. So Lars certainly has his pros to his cons, but
Definitely.
he's unarguably, you could probably find it anywhere on Google as probably be number 1 if you were to search it, Lars. Overrated, because if you know anything about metal, he does nothing. He is a click track.
Yeah, pretty much.
So there you go.
The guy is really good at keeping time. He's very solid. His fills, in my opinion, are shit. He does write progressive music, but sometimes if you're going to write that kind of music, you just make sure you're going to be able to pull it off live. But in my opinion, he should be more of a producer. But because of the machine and the monstrous, gigantic presence of Metallica, they just got to venture on. But the guy's not very impressive. Metal-wise, I mean, Metallica could have been they could have dominated if they had more of a technical player. But I remember this one interview on YouTube. There was this one guy, I think Lars was in Germany or something, and some bystander just walks up to him, hey man, why don't you try experimenting with blast beats? And Lars was like, I don't know, no. He really wasn't open to kind of like where metal was going. And that the guy came up with he grew up with bands like Saxon and those kind of Deep Purple bands and classic rock. So he's got that approach to him, but I hate to say it, but Metallica has more of a heavy rock kind of feel. Now they're trying more metal stuff. That's great, but I don't know. Metal wise, nah, he ain't doing it for me.
You know, that is so fucking fair, and it really just jarred another thought in my head where I should maybe give Lars a break, just like Nick Mason. Maybe he is the Nick Mason of our time. It's only because we've been spoiled by other drummers of fucking unbelievable capacity, but you know, each and every one of them would not be there if it weren't for Metallica.
Of course.
That being said, right? But that being said, should we really hate? It's almost like hating Lars just because he isn't them. However, Nick Mason held it down. Lars held it down. He's sort of the Nick Mason of metal.
Yeah, I agree. I agree completely.
Cool.
I mean, you know, yeah.
All right.
Enough said about Lars.
Enough said about Lars, and that means default sentence right there. All right. Tommy Lee, there's my number one.
No way, dude. That's my number two.
I don't know how we got off track with the count. Maybe I can't count or read, but we should be both on number one, but that's fine. Yeah, but Tommy Lee, look, fuck him. He's worse than Lars, dude. Lars did more for me and music in general, I think, than Tommy Lee ever will. Tommy Lee, whatever, dude. The only thing he's taken away from his career is that shitty fucking that awesome
the sex tape with Pamela. Yeah
hepatitis C from Pamela Anderson. He took that away, and he took away that stupid glass box where he did drum solos, where apparently he got stuck in upside down or something on their last fucking I don't know if it was upside down. Oh yeah, he also took away his millions of dollars, but whatever. But fucking fuck Tommy Lee. He's a piece of shit. He does nothing.
Yeah, I agree. Too much hype for that guy. He's just plain nasty.
He's ridiculous. All right, number one, most overrated. What you got?
I have for my most overrated drummer is Ringo Starr. Now, hold on here before everybody chops me off.
He just heard. He's just throwing a whiskey bottle at us right now.
I know, right? Oh, how dare you? But not the Ringo of yesterday, the Ringo of now, completely overrated. I remember you mentioned he's one of the highest paid, or he is the highest paid drummer. And
I think Nate mentioned that.
Based on his status, it's ridiculous. I mean, the guy, he did come up. This is a question I have for you. I'm unsure if he came up with that popularized 8-beat on the hi-hat, that up and down technique that he's got going on that made pop so popular. But he was very solid. He played for the songs. I didn't appreciate when they gave him the chance to go for one of his songs, Yellow Submarine. It was, but I would have to say that he's an overrated drummer now. Now, back then when he was the Beatles, it was cool. But I mean, now, you got to hang your tape, buddy.
He was like the Nick Mason of the 60s.
Right. Straight, keeping the time for the songs, but that's pretty much it. And because of course of his level of fame and the Beatles, they're just, grander than life. He's going to be, immortalized in that way. But drumming wise, okay, whatever.
Absolutely. I'd like to do an episode dedicated just to 60s music, and then go through like the times, 70s, 80s, 90s, and up till now. We'll get there, but he'll certainly be mentioned a lot there. I think he wrote some lyrics too. But yeah, again, he was there. He was fucking there, probably just like stoked.
Having John and Paul to,
he didn't make any noise. Yeah, he didn't make any noise. It certainly wasn't him that broke the Beatles up. We know that.
No, he was just comfortable and complacent. But well, when you have that much money, fuck it.
Fuck, dude. Away with it. So we got three Nick Masons, 3 different eras. Who's the next one? Me. Without the money or the talent. All right, here we go. Very good. So, and by the way, anyone listening, please, folks, add your own greatest.
Yeah, these are strictly our opinions. No,
exactly. And I want to be corrected, and I want to have somebody go, "How the fuck could you not mention this? How could you not mention that?" But also, fucking give us a shot too. Check out fucking Chris Coleman, if nothing else, that you should take away from this is that motherfucker. Check him out. So, all right, we're gonna move on to the album. This has been fucking super sick, by the way. We didn't get into a lot of old stories, but that's all right. We'll save some of those because you're obviously welcome back.
Thanks, man.
And anything musical on your mind is always welcome too. Let's get into a little bit about your band, your new band, D-Roll, and tell us the inception. How did it get started? How did you meet these guys? I got to say, the singer, first of all, as a singer myself, I really admire this guy's voice, dude. He does what I'm faking. Like, it's so natural and it's so pleasant to listen to. What a rich singing voice this guy has, and I'm jealous. So please tell him that for me.
Right on. The guy, he's really creative. It's his vision, his baby. I kind of walked into an already fixed situation. Their current drummer was kind of going through, I don't know, his stuff, but they just gave me a buzz because I worked with a guitarist on some other project before, and they needed a drummer at the time. They already had a whole album completed, so they just needed somebody to fill in for the time being. And it was fun in the beginning, and it just kind of took over itself. Eventually, I started implementing more ideas, and we started just collaborating a little bit more creatively. And but this album that's currently coming out right now, which is going to be available, I believe, the end of the month. We're still in the final kinks of it, but it's his baby. So the next album, we're going to be a little bit more on the playing field, putting on our ideas and whatnot. But right now, this is basically his vision, and I'm just on the drums trying to put my stank on there, I guess. But it's more an alternative rock kind of approach, I guess, if you want to hear bands like Soundgarden. It's not metal, that's for sure.
I love it.
Thanks. Well, yeah, it's different. It's definitely something I appreciate musically. There are moments where it can get really, really interesting, but we'll see for the next album if putting more of our ideas, the bass player and myself. But this right now is more of his grand vision, this album coming out, D-Roll.
D-Roll. I call it I don't know, D-Roll just sounds...
D-Roll. I mean, the guy, I guess it's The Roll, but to sound kind of cool, he put that D in there.
I mispronounced.
My idea.
But I wanted to say D-Roll. I thought it sounded cool, but D-Roll sounds cool. I really like how this is turning out, this album so far. I love the mood. The song that you picked to play, Alma, right? Mm-hmm. That, to me, there's an Incubus sort of vibe, just a little bit. I'm not saying it sounds like it. It's just that if you had to pick something, that's a mood that I'm getting out of it. But interesting. And you're saying that this isn't final yet, right? You're still working on it.
Yeah, there's still final touches, some keyboards, some little nuances, details, stuff like that. So it's what you got is pretty much like a very raw kind of sound to it. It's not finalized, but it's getting there.
And you guys play concerts and stuff and gigs locally?
Yeah, we're actually playing a show this Friday. Should be interesting. Trying to keep ourselves busy, trying to get out there. I'm trying to get the band out of Bolivia, interesting enough, because a lot of the groups here, they're very comfortable in their bubbles. And I can't help but feel that getting influence and all the stuff that I learned living in the States and whatnot, I'm trying to get this band out of Bolivia. I'm trying to break them out to become more accessible internationally. And so I don't know, I've been talking with like some people in LA, seeing if they can receive us in the future. And we've been getting some good responses and whatnot, but I'm trying to really push this band to get out there. So I guess I'm playing more the promotional level.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. You guys would do amazing in California.
Who knows, man?
I think so. So let's play you guys a little bit of their new album that they're still working on. What's the album called?
It's self-titled, D-Roll, and the song, I think it's called Alma. That's Spanish for soul.
Lejos de este lugar, haber sido un ente vagando sin voz, y hablo desde un escenario más. No podría estar tan
have reached the album reviews section. Sepultura Roots.
Yeah, it's an old one, but classic.
All right, so I'll just go ahead and go first then, real quick.
Go for it.
Tribal metal.
Yeah.
This band created that. They invented it. They're in one of those. Fuck, dude. I really should have done mine after because I need to borrow some of your insight. I'm gonna sound like a dumb dick. Why don't you start?
Okay. Well, I mean, you're right. Tribal metal. That pretty much sums it. The certain that locking of the guitar chunk with the toms, that jump, that is definitely glamorized by these guys. They really took that level. I love the fact that they had a completely unorthodox approach to metal. They were very, very thrash. They were influenced by Slayer, Napalm Death, stuff like that. But where they started differing, was probably in the album of Chaos when they started introducing more of their culture, which is something I appreciated being from South America as well. But it gave me a lot of pride being, from South America to see these guys come up and have a lot of people really embrace the music. They took it to another level with their tribal approach and implementing samba rhythms and acoustic guitar and keeping it more, I guess, folk. And a lot of people appreciated that, I guess, where it was just a different texture, a different color to the world of metal. And it just gave it a little bit more substance, I guess, which is something I'm trying to not replicate, but follow along those lines of trying to keep it organic, but metal at the same time. The word metal, I mean, says it alone, but I'd like to put a little bit of ceramic and wood up in there just to keep it a little bit more natural, I guess. But yeah, they did that in spades, and Roots was their pinnacle of where they can reach. Sepultura, they're not exactly a super technical band, but I just appreciate the fact that they had the balls to really introduce everybody to their culture and check this out. This is Brazilian style and whatnot, and I appreciate that. I really respect that, and they had balls to do that because they could have just kept going with the whole straight metal, which is great, but I can't help but feel that if we were to, maybe us as metal players or whatnot, I don't know, even just players, take other influences from other places and try to apply it. Not on purpose, but maybe if it works for you, fantastic. But it gives it a little bit more substance, I guess, and that's
Well, it's like
one thing I appreciate.
for sure, and that'd be a fun topic to come up with on another episode. Is like what hasn't been thought of yet, what surface hasn't been scratched, and there's been fucking pirate metal for God's sakes, and you're really reaching.
Yeah.
But you're right, dude. You can move on, but just to address what you just said, Sepultura was the first to give us tribal metal where it was needed, especially at the time, because what did we have when it came to metal? You had the whole the English invasion, the European invasion, English invasion of metal in the 80s. You had the epic thing that sounded like maybe classical music, Mozart over it, European. You had Pantera, which is the Southern stank approach. You got Opeth, where you bring in the Euro folk stuff, and
That's right.
and then you got Meshuggah or Fear Factory, where it's the machinery thing. You got Death, where it's more Indian, Egyptian scale. Then you got Sepultura, Sepultura was the one who came out and come out of the tall grass. That's what I wrote down really as a note. Like Max Cavalera sounds like this motherfucker hiding in the tall grass about to jump out at me. His vocals don't bother me. I mean, obviously it comes from thrash like you're talking about. It is guttural, and he was, maybe he did guttural earlier than a lot of singers, would you say?
Yeah. He didn't really have that kind of throat, Chris Barnes kind of deal.
Not at all. Well,
God, miss those times.
Fuck yeah. But yeah, the mood that they created has not yet been replicated. Maybe mimicked, but not really. It's never going to be the same. They really did have that staple.
Yeah, I mean, when somebody does that, like you were just mentioning, European folk metal and whatnot, they take a little bit from their traditions and apply it. I think maybe that kind of pushes the genre a little bit forward into opening new ideas to, I don't know, let's go down this alleyway, and it just rewires your approach. And I don't know, maybe if we can kind of it's not for everybody, that's for sure. I appreciate it very much. But
well, they had a 90s vibe attached with them because that was the era. It would be interesting to hear a new approach in that tribal scene. I really can't say, I can't name a single band that has ever gone down that avenue. That maybe because it's a really fucking hard act to follow, but it would be really interesting to hear the next new tribal metal band.
Yeah, or anybody else that really, I mean, one idea I had here in Bolivia, for example, was trying to do metal or rock even with different instruments, folk instruments. Like there's this one small guitar called a charango that they have here in South America. It's got this crazy tuning, weird sounds, but just to bring in different colors and different percussion instruments and different things and see what happens if we can just maybe.
I love it.
I don't know. It's really fun to experiment.
I love it.
Bring a violin or whatever.
Dude, I love it. Like I use an Eskimo drum or something. My old drum teacher, my old drum teacher showed me that, Brian Melvin. Like it's a drum where literally it's on a handle, almost like a frying pan with a normal frying pan handle, but an enormous like drum ring, and then it's just a head. But what you're supposed to do, you got to move your arm away while you hit it and sort of fan it. And it's like it requires, it's a mobile drum. You know what I mean? Wow. So,
it is.
I don't know, man. I heard you hear some bands that like wanted to use, I think Opeth in one interview with Opeth, they're like, there's one part of an album when I played the Opeth, whatever. he wanted to use a lute. And he found a lute, wrote a stupid part. It barely even found its way in the mix, but he just wanted to use it. He was like, I was an idiot. But some of that shit would be cool if it's done right. Sepultura, they did it right. They brought you all sorts of auxiliary percussion. Speaking of,
when it fits. No, I was just saying when it fits, it fits, It's
got to fit. It's got to work. And they certainly found a sound. It would really be interesting to find a modernized tribal metal band sound. Djembe is my favorite auxiliary percussion, personally.
I love it. I remember moments when we used to go to like Hippie Hill, Golden Gate Park,
yes,
and Sunset.
Drum circles.
Drum circle. Remember that?
Fuck yeah, dude. We would take pieces of your set. Everybody would like, it would be almost, it'd be almost like calling shotgun in a car what piece you get.
That's
Snare
right.
drum, I get floor tom. Fuck, you got the floor tom, motherfucker. And we just take
Driving.
pieces of your kit and take it down there, and we would own the shit, and it would be great, dude.
That's right.
It's awesome.
That was so fun. Yeah, man. Moments like that, you know. God, I miss everyone.
Hey, man, we miss you too. This was fucking amazing, and believe me, you're coming back, and we'll try to get you on with some other
Sure.
folks too. Thanks for making it, and thanks for anyone who's listening. Please drop us any comments. Drop us any. Who do you think's the best drummer? Who do you think's the most overrated drummer? Who do we leave out? And any interviews, or excuse me, I'll edit that. Any reviews you'd like us to give for any albums, give us a recommendation. Mauricio, this was badass. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, man. I had fun. This was great.
It was a fucking blast. All right, man. I'll talk to you soon. Late.
All right, late.